Hi, I'm Rick Beckett with Skeies Jewelers. I'm here with my uncle Rick Skeies of Skeies Jewelers, and we're going to talk today a little bit about some things he's learned along the way. So, Rick, thanks for being on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I hear that you like to lose at golf to your nephew. Is this true or false?
There's nothing that would be farther from the truth. I like to beat my nephew every time.
You're choosing your words wisely. Talking about Skeies Jewelers, if you were to look back to your 27-year-old self when you started the business, is there any advice you'd give yourself today looking back on your 27-year-old young Rick Skeies starting out in the industry?
I think that I've made some good moves and some moves that aren't so good, but basically I think that it's a learning curve to run a business. But I do think that one thing that was nice that my parents taught me is integrity. And that's not something that's learned, that's something that you should have. And I would recommend that, it seems to me that virtually every successful business around Eugene, the people, when I get to know the people that are running them, they have that.
Honesty, integrity.
Yes. And you can't be taught that. But as far as not making mistakes in business, mistakes are going to happen. I think we've made more good decisions than bad decisions, and therefore we're a very successful store. But you really, there is a learning curve, and there's no easy way to learn it.
Question for you about the community. What does Eugene mean to you? I mean, you've been here as part of this community for most of your life. I know you moved away for a little bit for some schooling and whatnot. What does this community mean to you?
Well, Eugene's an interesting community because it's a cultural center. And so we're a little bit isolated. So we have the University of Oregon, Lane Community College, Bushnell College, and there's a lot of culture that comes through Eugene. So first thing, it changes all the time. But we get we have a tremendous community because of that. There's a good symphony, ballet, sports are phenomenal here, absolutely phenomenal. And so it's a very nice place to live. Plus you have all the outdoors, fly fishing on the McKenzie, skiing at Mount Bachelor, Willamette, I guess, the Oregon coast, all the fishing there, and hiking on the coast. It's really a wonderful place to live.
You're an avid hiker.
Yes, I am.
An avid outdoorsman.
Yes, I am.
Which most people may not know about you.
Well,
tell us about your last experience on the horseback. Did you ever have any?
I don't think we better get into that, but I had an experience at one of my horses.
Well, how about this? Instead of that one, can you tell us about your experience on the McKenzie River with your nephew? What happened there?
Well, I tried to drown him. Okay. We sunk the boat. We went down a channel and ran into a old growth cottonwood that was across the entire channel, and the boat went under the cottonwood, and we went floating, and fortunately got rescued by the one raft on the river that day. It was in May.
Ren,
yes.
If you're out there. We're still talking about
Ren was an incredibly nice guy. He's our guardian angel, and every other word was a four-letter word. And there was a beer in his hand at all times. It was fantastic.
And he saved us.
He saved our tail, didn't he? Yeah, that was great.
This year is the 100th anniversary of Skeies Jewelers. You are retiring this year.
Yes, I am.
On the 100th anniversary, what does that mean to you?
I've had a long and wonderful career. I've met a lot of wonderful people. I know a lot of people in the community, and it is a lovely community. There's a lot of great people in Eugene, or this area. And I'm proud of what we've done as a store. I think the store is, I look around and I think it's one heck of a good store. And I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of who I chose to sell it to. It wasn't about the money. I wanted to have this store in our family to somebody that was capable of running it, and I'm real proud that I've sold it to Rick Beckett.
Thank you, sir. Do you allow?
But you're not going to. I mean, with all of that,
Will you take
I'm
the
still
store
going to
back
kick
if
your
I'm not-
tail in golf. That's all there is
If
to
I
it.
change my mind and it gets hard, will you take it back?
Too late. You've got it.
Can you tell us about George and Mabel Skee, pillars of the community? Can you just tell us real briefly about who they were? You don't have to go too deep, but who were George and Mabel Skee?
They were a World War II couple. They were not. They were opposite personalities and from different parts of the country. George was grew up in Eugene, was born in Montana, but grew up in Eugene. Mabel was from Salt Lake City, and she was really quite a force to be reckoned with, but they were opposites. A little bit crazy, but it made it. I'm really happy.
I will say Mabel did raise me. Partially. I was partially raised with Mabel Skee.
So I think that's probably right. But real characters, always entertaining, and it was always kind of fun.
Now, wasn't there a story about Father Duffy?
Father Duffy, that was a good story.
Can you tell us that was a George Skee story, right?
That's a George Skee story. My dad was a very warm-hearted guy. In the old days, he got a call from the hospital from a Father Duffy from Sacred Heart Hospital. And Father Duffy called him and said, Mr. Skee, there's a woman in the hospital who's not married and going to have a baby. In those days, that was a big deal. And she knows you very well. She's a little bit embarrassed about it. But they're going to get married, and she would like to get an engagement ring from you. And could you possibly bring over some engagement rings? She wants a carat plus to 3 carat engagement ring. Can you bring some ideas over so she can pick one and she'll select one and get that taken care of? And my dad said, sure. So he came over with a tray full of engagement rings, and Father Duffy met him in a visitor room and said, she knows you very well and she's really embarrassed about this. Do you mind if I just take half of these rings and show them to her, and I'll be back in just a few minutes, and maybe she'll either select one or we'll take the other half of the rings and we'll show her those and get this done, but she'll just pay you cash for it. But she's quite embarrassed. You know her very well.
But he still doesn't know her name at this point.
Doesn't know her name.
But he knows her really well.
And Father Duffy, my dad says, sure. Gives Father Duffy half the rings and waits 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and asks some nurses, have you seen Father Duffy? Yes. He left about 15 minutes ago. And that was that.
Professional.
He got an anonymous card from somebody, a priest was on it, and it said, thanks on the outside, and then on the inside it said, a hell of a lot. So that was that. He was embarrassed for the rest of his life. My mother thought it was funny.
You gotta laugh at that stuff, I think.
Cost him a lot of money.
What can you do?
Yeah, what can you do?
Yeah.
It was a business mistake.
It was a business mistake. Hey, speaking of business, Rick, there's technology, and we talked a little bit about character. We have technology, we have all these new changes. What are your thoughts for the new jewelers coming up? Is the industry going to be harder, easier, the same? What are your thoughts for the new guys that are starting a business?
I think one thing I can say is adamant with all the technology. Technology is impersonal. And it's what's really, really important, people need connection. They need to know people. They need a one-on-one. And so, every 5 to 7 years, something was going to knock us out, and Skeies Jewelers is going to be no more, because you had, all sorts of different things, and from big box stores, the chains were going to knock us out. The the Costco was going to knock us out, the internet was going to knock us out, and et cetera, et
And
cetera.
every time when that was going to happen,
We
did
grow.
you feel like I have a
Every
question
time we
for you.
grow.
Do you feel like you're gonna that's gonna take you out?
No.
So in the time when you face a new adversity, you just know it's a new adversity, and you're just gonna take it out.
It's not going to take you out because ours is a knowledge-based business. You cannot, understanding diamonds, you can't buy a cert. You have to look at diamonds. I've seen many stones. You see a cert, and I think this is really poorly graded, or this is the wrong stone for this particular customer. Every day I see things that are done properly, and there's things that I reject, and you can't take that away. It won't happen. The other thing that's really important, it's important. You can't run a business just for the bottom line. You have to. That's extremely important. You have to take care. We have customers that come in that we've never made a dime on. That we've just taken care of their needs. And I think if you want to be, what I've always wanted to be is I want to be the jewelry store that Eugene relies upon. And to do that, you got to take care of everything. You got to take care of as much as you can. And it's a personal business. You have to know people and get to know them and get to know their needs. And sometimes a person will come in and think their needs are this, and when they leave, they get that, and they're really happy they got that because you talked about their needs, and what they thought they needed wasn't what they needed at all. So it's a personal business, and if we stop Skeies being a personal business, then I really think we'll wither on the vine. It's the integrity, it's the communication with customers, it's getting to know your customers and figuring out what their needs are, and I think that is something. And then as far as the technology, it's all great. Use it. If we're making rings quite a bit differently than we did. We're as far as doing CAD and this type of thing, we're
Well, I remember you told me, I think one of the things that stuck with me from the beginning, and I was just newly into sales, and I think I was, struggling on sales one day, and you said, Rick, sales is simple. All you have to do is help people.
That's right.
And it changed my perspective, which then, was more fun to do, to help people. You're putting less pressure on yourself. You're just saying, I'm here to help them. And it's the best for the customer.
You got to figure out what they need.
Yeah.
And take care of that, and it makes it quite easy. And it's kind of fun. If you do that, there's no pressure at all.
Yeah.
So
versus trying to close a sale. You have some people that say, we want you to close this many sales per day, which is fine, I'm sure. But you have been more along the lines of help as many customers as you can. Just
get to know the customer.
Get to know the customer
and help them.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I don't remember any customer. I don't remember the last person I closed. When I got in the business, they used to have these books, how to close a sale. And I couldn't do it if my life depended on it. I have all these kind of silly ways to talk somebody into something they really didn't want. And what in the world is that? How do you do that? So what you need to do is you need to find out what their needs are and fill them.
Yeah.
And that's personal.
Well, it's been fun talking to you. We have a golf game to get to, and I would like everyone to know in advance that I'm going to beat you. As always.
The only way you got me down here is the promise of a golf game, because I really want to get in your wallet in the worst way. So, and this you winning is not going to happen.
Take it. It's actually true. I love you.
Thank you very much. You bet.